Okay. So I said in the morning, today we are discussing about joint products. And as we said in the morning, they are two or more products separated in the course of processing, each having sufficiently high saleable value, identifiable value, and they can be sold in the market as separate products. So it's a single process, two or three products. They have a value, identifiable value. Okay, and this in this context, the cost concept becomes apportionment. The cost needs to be apportioned between the products which has come in through this process, right? And we said about the example of oil refining, which had all joint products as petrol, diesel, or gasoline, as we say, right? Then we discussed about accounting for these joint products. As we said in the morning, primarily there are 8 methods which we are going to learn in our class. The first one is physical unit method. And in that method, the key word is apportionment is based on physical volume of the product, right? And there is one example which is given here, that is a company produces 10,560 tons, and it is said that cost per ton is 20 rupees, and the different joint products are being listed out as coke, tar, benzol, sulfate of ammonia. All these are being put under different categories under the different joint products. And now let's look at how to solve this. Basically, when looking at this example, you can see that the total output which we get as in the question 10,560 is put in the first column, which is total column, and the different joint products are put accordingly, that is 6,000, 3,400 and 200. Now again, how does this 960 came as waste? It's very simple. That is the total output being 10,560, and when I'm totaling up all these, I'm going to get only 9,600. So the difference between these two will be assumed as my wastage, material wasted in the process. So that's why I put my 960, the difference being my wastage in the process. Now the next thing is, this should be shared, because since it is joint products, right? We cannot totally show it in the apportionment process. So what we have done is, we have proportionately allocated the waste or the wastage to different joint products based on the quantity, that is physical volume. That's something which you have to understand when we are talking about physical unit, right? It is a portion, and now the task is very simple for us. We just have to total it up, and we are going to find out the joint cost by multiplying the per unit cost which each of these cases, right? That is 6,600 into 20, 3,300 into 20, same as the case with 440 and 220. This is it. That's actually physical unit method. So the keyword which you have to remember here is, the volume is the basis for apportionment. The volume of products, the volume of joint products is the basis for apportionment, right? Now going with the next method, we will quickly first discuss all these four methods which I'm planning to discuss in today's class, and then we'll try working it out. Okay. So average unit cost method, here the keyword is average. The keyword is average. We are finding out the average to apportion the cost. That's it. It's very simple method, and that's what's been mentioned here. Average cost is arrived at for all products without calculating separately the cost of each joint product. It's actually an averaging process. Now, in this given example from the joint product process, product A, B, C are obtained, and joint cost being 1,50,000. And now the units of joint products were 3,200, 2,500, 1800. Now we are asked to apportion the cost on the basis of average unit cost method. As I said, the key word here is average. Now let's see, it's very simple. See how it has been done. Initially, we are given with 1,50,000, and what we have done is we have found out the total output. Now how did I get the total output? It's the total of A, B and C. That's how I get the total output. And when I what I've done is joint processing cost, which is already given in the question, that is 1,50,000 divided by total output, I will get per unit cost. On an average, what is my cost per unit? On an average, that's a concept which is used in this method. So 20. Now things are very easy for me. I just have to multiply number of units with the per unit cost. That's it. So in this method, the keyword which you have to remember is averaging so as to find out the cost per unit and then go with the apportionment. So that's the second method. First method we discussed was physical unit method. And in that method, volume is the keyword. The apportionment of cost was based on volume. Now, in this method, average is the keyword. The basis of apportionment is on the basis of averaging the cost per unit. Right? That's why we did joint processing cost being divided by the total output to find out the per unit cost. And when this per unit cost is multiplied with the output, we are getting the joint cost for each product. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now the third method is a survey method. It actually, why it is called survey is because based on our assumption, some weightage, some value or some percentage is given to each joint product. Suppose if I find that product A is very important, I give more weightage, more value to product A. And if I find that product B is comparatively better, it carries more weightage, my percentage or value given to B will be higher. That's the logic here. So why it is called survey? It is based on my understanding and my analysis. I'm giving this weightage based on the, and maybe based on the industry data, maybe based on the company specific data. Okay. So in this given example, it's a case of timber industry. There are three grades of timber. Maybe they have graded on the basis of its quality, or it can be on the basis of demand. Grade A, grade B, grade C. Now looking at it itself, we can see that grade A is given more significance than B and C. Now in the question, they said the total cost is 62,000. The units of three grades are given as 600, 400 and 200 respectively. And now what we have to remember from this case is, yes, in this method, there are different weights which needs to be given to find out the cost of apportionment. Excuse me. So the technical estimates show that the point values of 6, 5 and 3 are assigned to A, B and C. So the highest grade is given to product, that is the timber, which is graded as A. Second highest is given to B and third highest is given to C. So this is the crux which we have to understand. So the first method, we said volume is something which we have to remember. That is physical unit method. Average cost method, we said averaging is being done to find out the cost of apportionment. And here in this method which we are discussing, which is survey method, here grading is done and higher points are given to those products which are graded at a higher scale. Right? Let's see how it is being done. It's very simple. We have three products in this category, that is grade A, grade B and grade C. And the units that is already given in the question, that is 600, 400 and 200 respectively. 600, 400 and 200 respectively. Now the point scale is already given in the question, that is 6, 5 and 3 respectively. So here also what we are doing is 6, 5 and 3. So now things are very easy. For us, we need to find out the equivalent units, right? That's what the first step in this method. We need to find out what are the equivalent units. So how did we do that? 600 into 6, which is 3,600, and 400 into 5, which is 2,000, 200 into 3, which is 600. That's how we go with the allocation purpose. Now we got the total equivalent unit. Okay, we got the total equivalent units. Now what we have to find out here is the per unit cost, because if we get the per unit cost, the apportionment is easy. So what did we do? We find out the per unit cost by dividing total cost with equivalent unit. That's where some of you might make this mistake in this method. It is the denominator here is the equivalent units, not the initial units, number of units. So when we go with the equivalent units here, in this case, it is 6,200. So what do we do? 62,000 divided by 6,200 will give us 10 per unit. Now things are easy. 600, no, when we are multiplying equivalent units with the per unit cost, we will get 36,000. Accordingly, for the rest of it also, that like 2,600, we are multiplying the per unit cost. So in this method, what you have to remember here is we have to convert this into equivalent units based on the survey, based on the gradings. The higher graded products will get higher scaling, so accordingly they will be having higher weightage. Like in this question, grade A timber category was given higher points, so we multiplied that with higher scale, that is 6. And finally, you get the apportionment cost by totaling all these. This is all about survey method. So we were talking about, first one is physical unit method, where volume was the basis for apportionment. Second one was average unit method, average cost method, where averaging of the cost was simply done for the purpose of apportionment. And the third one, which we just now discussed, is the survey method, where grading of the joint products are being done, maybe because of their quality, or maybe because of their demand, or maybe because of the durability. That depends on industry. It varies from industry to industry. And then we find out the equivalent units, and which is used for finding out the cost of apportionment. And the last method, which we are going to discuss in today's class, it's yet another simple method, which is called as contribution method. Now here you have to remember that the cost is classified into marginal cost and fixed cost. Okay, that we learned the concept of marginal cost and fixed cost in our last semester, but I'll repeat that once more. Listen to me very carefully. That is, in contribution method, we are classifying the cost into marginal cost and the fixed cost, and the apportionment for marginal cost is on the basis of weight or quantity, and the apportionment of fixed cost is on the basis of contribution of the product. I repeat, the apportionment of marginal cost in this method is based on weight or quantity, and the apportionment of fixed cost is based on contribution of each of this. Now we know what is contribution. Sales minus variable cost will give us contribution. Now marginal cost is nothing but cost of producing one additional unit, or additional cost incurred for producing one more unit. That's what we call as marginal cost. So let's look at this example, which is given in this question. We are given with product X and Y, and product X 800 units and product Y 600 units, and rate is 30 and 20 respectively. And the marginal cost and fixed costs are given as 14,000 and 11,000 respectively, right? And when we are looking into it, is this we have to apportion on the basis of weight and contribution. So first, let's see how do we classify marginal cost. So when we are talking about marginal cost for X, initially we have to find out how much is the marginal cost. So we know that marginal cost is found in the ratio of the quantity. So here the quantity is 800 and 600. So it can be taken as 80:60 or 8:6. And then we are actually proportionately allocating 14,000. When we proportionately allocate 14,000 between X and Y, we will get 8,000 and 6,000. This, of course, you know how did we get. This is the sales volume, which is nothing but units into rate. 800 into 30, 600 into 20. We get the rates. And then we got the marginal cost, which is based on the quantity, proportionately allocated on the basis of quantity. We got 8,000 and 6,000. Now it is very easy for us to find out contribution. How did we do contribution? 24,000 minus 8,000, which will give us 16,000 as contribution for X, and Y it is 6,000. We are in a correct mode. Now we know that it has been said that fixed costs need to be apportioned on the basis of contribution. We have the ratio of contribution 16:6 with us. We found out that, and the total of 11,000 is apportioned on the basis of 16:6, which will give us 8,000 and 3,000. Right? So now we know the total profit. If the sales is 24,000, and when we reduce the variable cost and the fixed cost from it, we will get the profit. It's very simple, right? It's very simple, which is 8,000 and 3,000. So this is actually contribution method. The key which you have to remember here is marginal cost is apportioned on the basis of quantity, or maybe if it is weight, it will be weight, depending on the question in our hand. And fixed cost allocation, apportionment is done on the basis of contribution. Now we know that contribution is nothing but sales minus variable cost. So here in this question, it is apportioned on the basis of contribution, and this is all about the contribution method. So in today's class, to conclude, we discussed about what is a joint product. It is two or more products which are produced simultaneously, which carries value, which are easily identifiable, which has sizable value, which has a market, right? That will be brought under the category of joint product. Now, the problem with joint product is the cost will be initially in our hand. The cost in our hand will be in total. We need to apportion it between different products which has been produced in the process. So that is where we introduce the concept of apportionment. Now, the next part we discussed about accounting for these different joint product costs. Now we said there are basically 8 methods which we are going to learn, and today we discussed about 4 methods. The first one is physical unit method, where the unit, the quantity, the volume was taken for apportionment basis. And the second method which we discussed were average value method, where averaging was done to normalize the condition before we apportion the cost. And the third method we discussed was survey method, where grading was given to the product which was based on some quality or maybe some other criteria like acceptability in the market. And the last method, which we have just now discussed, is contribution method, where the cost is categorized into fixed and variable or marginal cost. And in this case, the marginal cost is allocated on the basis of volume or quantity, and fixed cost is allocated on the basis of contribution per unit. So proportionate allocation was done by us to accommodate or to find out the cost per unit. So these are the 4 methods which we would be discussing in our class.